What's up, Fumble fam? I'm Brooke.
And I'm Noelle, and you're listening to Girls Don't Fumble, the #1 sports podcast for NFL Girl Talk.
We sift through all the football news so you don't have to.
Let's get into it.
Oh my God. What happened last night?
What happened? Draft day #1? Insane.
Absolute madness. This is what people, when we're talking about the NFL is drama, this is exactly what we're talking about.
This is the drama that we needed, and we got exactly that. The crowd was pumped in Detroit. We love to see it. I mean, this was the first time I also watched the draft, like from start to finish. Like I used to see like bits and pieces of it. But what a spectacle it was. They had a live band going. There's tons of interviews going on all at once. I can't even imagine what the energy was like there. Yes. If only we could be there. Maybe one day, though.
Maybe next year.
Maybe next year, just waiting for our invites.
It looked so fun. And of course, the story that everyone is talking about this morning, recording on Friday, the night or the day after the draft, is the Falcons with their number 8 overall pick drafting quarterback Michael Penix Jr. after they have mere weeks ago signed Kirk Cousins to a $180 million contract to be their quarterback.
I think this left a lot of people in the NFL scratching their heads a little bit. They were a little confused, and I've been watching interviews and people are trying to make it make sense. And I think that there's going to be so many opinions about this. Like, I think I saw an interview with the GM of the Atlanta Falcons saying that Kirk Cousins is our quarterback, but Michael Penix is our future. So they're setting themselves up for multiple years. But at the same time, if I'm Michael, I want to start. I got to be on the bench with Kirk.
Exactly. No, they literally said, Kirk's our guy, and then in 4 or 5 years, if everything goes well, then we'll start him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, every other quarterback that got drafted yesterday is going to be a starter for their team. Not to mention, if this was their strategy, if they were like, look, we don't think we're going to get this chance at number 8 overall again, we're going to get like a succession plan ready for Kirk. Why do you do that with a guy who is the oldest QB in the draft class? He's 24. So add 5 years from now, he's going to be almost 30.
Right.
My back hurts. His back is going to hurt. Like, he's not going to be in prime physical condition anymore.
Yeah.
This doesn't feel like the right quarterback to select and the right move to make. It's not like the Falcons had the luxury of having such a good roster that they were like, we don't really have any other needs, so we might as well just get a succession plan for the guy that we just got a couple weeks ago. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, Kirk is already in grandpa years for being 36. A quarterback. 36. And Michael Penix is, by the time by the time his contract is up, he'll be 27, maybe even older. So I don't really get it, but I think that there's a lot of people that are trying to make sense of it. I mean, I can almost see them going for an O lineman to help protect Kirk because he's coming off of a torn Achilles injury. So I don't know. I do get the idea of mentoring Michael with Kirk there, and he will have that mentorship. But at the same time, I feel like it's a little bittersweet for Michael's sake. But who knows? He seems excited in the interviews, and I'm sure, like, obviously he's going to be media trained, and how he actually feels is not going to be on the airwaves. But at the same time, we're excited for him. You know, he also has already accomplished so much in college. He was a runner-up for the Heisman. Unfortunately, got beat out by Jaden Daniels, but still yet, he has accomplished so much. I think that a lot of people in the NFL see the potential in him. So maybe these years will be good for him at the same time.
I know. In all his interviews, he's doing everything he can just to have a good attitude of like, he's definitely shocked. And I'm sure a little bit he's disappointed, but he is saying all the right things if he's excited to learn from Kirk. I think another thing that was so crazy about this is, you know, we're here to support Michael and getting the opportunity he wants. We're also feeling a little bit like not bad for Kirk because he's still got that bag. He's still going to get paid no matter what. But when he signed with the Falcons, I think he originally said something along the lines of, it's not the money, it's what the money means. And to him, getting that 4-year deal meant that they believed in him, even at 36 years old. They wanted to sign him till he's 40, and they wanted to give him that commitment and that stability. And in his interviews, he says, I want to retire here. And now what they do a few weeks later, just drafting another quarterback in the first round. Like, if you want to get a backup quarterback, get him, not it, in the second, third, or fourth round.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be now. I think what the GM said was they just absolutely fell in love with Michael Penix Jr. and they wanted to draft him. So it's like, if that's the case, why did they even bother giving Kirk this amazing contract? And I don't know if they probably didn't know this was going to happen. Maybe they were like, oh shit, like we didn't mean for this to happen, but we can't miss out on this guy.
Yeah. And maybe like when they saw that talent and his name still listed when it was their turn, they're like, we can't pass up this opportunity, which I get. He is a young man, and they are dipping their toes in their present and future in some ways, which is, a good move. But at the same time, I think that Kirk was one of the first people that someone in the draft room, like they called Kirk before they made the pick for Michael. So I'm sure, I think there was like an interviewer that asked the GM, like, how did Kirk respond? And he was like, we are going to keep that conversation private because obviously it's probably not good for Kirk's sake, and he obviously wanted that stability and that security for that 4-year term. But at the same time, I'm sure he didn't react so positively to that news.
Absolutely not. And yes, they called him before the draft happened, or this specific pick happened, but he only found out moments before the rest of the world found out.
Yeah.
He, I think, an hour and a half before was, hosting one of the Falcons draft day parties, so excited, getting all the fans in Atlanta hyped up. They're thinking they're getting another weapon for Kirk, an O-lineman, someone for him to throw to, anybody but a backup quarterback. And the fact that they knew they were going to do this, there's no way this was decided during the draft.
Yep.
And they didn't tell him until moments before. And I got to imagine Kirk is pissed because it's kind of pushing him out before he's even started. It's also not giving him the chance to be on an even better team. They could have used the number 8 spot to pick someone better. And it's also just again, like you said, people are like scratching their heads at this decision. They currently have a 36-year-old quarterback who's coming off of an ACL injury last season. So it's like, okay, yeah, maybe he's not going to last all 4 years of his contract.
Yeah.
However, Michael Penix Jr. is, again, as I mentioned, he's 24 years old now, or he's turning 24 in May, #tour season. And he also has torn his ACL twice.
Yeah.
He tore his ACL in 2018 and 2019. He dislocated his non-throwing shoulder, and then he tore his ACL again the year after that. And then in 2021, he separated his throwing shoulder. His left hand is the one that he throws with. And it's not like you're getting this, man who's just healthy and in his prime and can sit on the bench for 5 years.
Yeah.
He's practically falling apart before he makes it to the NFL. And I don't feel bad for Kirk because he got that money. Michael, I'm sure, is just happy to be drafted that high overall. That was definitely not expected. I think the Raiders were thinking they could snag him at 13. What I do feel bad for is the Atlanta Falcons fans, because that has got to be the most disappointing pick. And now everyone's kind of laughing at the Falcons today. And that's embarrassing.
It is sad because I feel like there were a lot of tweets that went out and it was like the draft just got weird. And it was because of that pick. And sure, yes, Michael Penix is he's a talented guy and we can't wait to see what he does. But it did throw a little bit of a wrench in like the dynamic,
Exactly.
The whole,
And now
the whole
he's feeling,
dynamics of the Falcons. So that's interesting.
And another thing too that made it so shocking is not only were they not expecting a quarterback to be picked at number 8 by the Falcons, it was also not expected that Michael Penix Jr. would be picked in this, like, above JJ McCarthy. A lot of people, as we talked about last week, thought JJ McCarthy would be in that number 8 quarterback selected spot.
Yeah.
So you got JJ still sitting there, and a lot of people view him as the better athlete. And they just said, nope, we want Michael. So we'll see how that goes. But that was just the absolute most shocking thing. That's the drama. That is Kirk Cousins is pissed. The Falcons fans are pissed. Everyone's asking the GM what he was thinking. Michael Penix Jr., bless his heart, has a good attitude, but we are shook.
And of course, this was still round 1. We'll see where they go from round 2 to 7. Last thing I'll say about this whole debacle is I think I saw an interview and someone was saying like it's like being on your honeymoon and like cheating while you're on your honeymoon.
Too. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's so true because people are so excited to have Kirk. He's such like a household name. He's the Cole's Cash King. Yeah. Like there is a lot to like about him. And now there is this other young man who he deserves almost his own spotlight, but now they kind of have to share the stage a little bit. So we're curious to see how that all shakes out. But that was some of the drama that was just been all over the news today, and I'm sure it will continue through the weekend.
I know. We'll see what they do in the second round. They got another chance on the clock, but people are saying this is the most shocking moment in the NFL draft in at least the last 5 years.
Totally.
Doesn't make any sense. And Kirk, no matter what, even if you're thinking maybe they'll just trade Kirk away, he's guaranteed $90 million across the next 2 years. So if they end his contract before those 2 years, they're still stuck paying him $45 million a year. Yeah. And even if he's on another team. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, now there's going to be 2 very talented QBs in the room in the Atlanta Falcons locker room, but we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out.
We'll see. You know, there was a lot of quarterback injuries last season. It wouldn't be shocking if it happened again this season. What I would say is I just wish that the Falcons just didn't get Kirk to begin with. If they liked Michael Penix Jr. so much, we're worried about injury and having an old quarterback. Let's leave Kurt alone.
Yeah.
Kirk. Let's leave the king of Cole's Cash alone, and let's not give the fans a heart attack like that.
Right. And they'd still be $100 million richer.
Yeah.
Today.
They could get more players for that. So they didn't.
Then that's what the draft is for.
Exactly. Well, we started there. We had to start with the drama, the initial shock. I gasped at my TV when that happened last night.
Yeah.
But let's get to everything else. Let's kind of recap some of our favorite picks, some of the top ones.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of set the scene? We're in Detroit.
Yeah, we're in Detroit. It looks like it's right in the middle of downtown. If you guys didn't get a chance to watch it, what a show. I know we kind of touched on this on our last episode. We kind of had some comparisons to the Sahara tent at Coachella, which it was alive and well. There were 275,000 fans that were attending the draft as of yesterday. And I believe they set the record for the highest attendance in draft history. So a lot of people showing up, showing out in the Motor City in Detroit. Just to set the stage, there's a lot of fans. There's the stage. Roger Goodell is announcing every single pick. A lot of boos.
He got booed
every single, like all night.
Every single time No, NFL fans are savage, and I get that they don't like Roger, but he had to get on stage 32 times. Every single time received boos. Like that did not get old to the audience to continue to do that.
Yeah, they did not. They really didn't care. And I know that there are a lot of reasons to kind of hate on Roger Goodell, but I feel like for the draft, like just let it be. I'm trying to hear what the picks are. Yeah. I think that there was a commercial just to like a hype video around the draft, and he actually made a funny, like Roger Goodell was looking at himself in the mirror. He's like, "Hi, I'm Roger Goodell," and he kept doing it over and over again.
Oh my God, it's like us on the podcast.
So I think he was expecting that, and I think that this has been going on for years and years of just the boos with Roger. But aside from that, there were a lot of happy fans. Whenever there was a new pick with a team, they would have a lot of camera angles on those fans. They were all like right in the front. It seems like they just like hand selected the most lively fans from each of the teams, and they just let them be in the front so they can get some good angles. But it seemed like every team was represented at the draft. And I'm sure that there will be so many more fans that are going to be filing in all weekend for the next few days.
I know. So exciting. It looked like so much fun to be there. The high energy from the sports fans. I saw people were dressing up. Like there was like some Vikings girls dressed in cheer uniforms. Maybe they were actually cheerleaders.
I think they might have been. But
I was like, these sweet girls have bought these uniforms online, are employed by the Vikings.
Yeah. I mean,
sorry, ladies.
No, that could be true though, but I'm pretty sure that there were cheerleaders for like multiple teams.
Gotcha.
But could be wrong.
No,
Could be lively fans.
They looked really official.
Yeah, that's true. The way that they were pom-pomming was very.
They
like,
had experience.
Yeah, that's true.
No, they were good. Everyone was dressed up. I saw a guy dressed, I think it was one of the Raiders fans, just full silver face and body. I don't understand fans like that. There was a Packers fan with a cheese block on his head. It was just so funny. So many good moments, and the energy was absolutely electric, as the Kelseys like to say. And this draft, I mean, for all the people that showed up and showed out, it did not disappoint. Even beyond just the drama with the Falcons selecting Michael Penix Jr., we broke a couple records with this draft. So first of all, it was with all of the picks, we had 14 straight offensive players selected, which is the longest streak in NFL history that this has ever happened. There's no defensive members picked in the top 14 picks. They're all sitting backstage, probably getting pissed and getting embarrassed that they're all dressed up in their suits and they haven't been called yet. So that was crazy. And then we also had 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12. This broke the record for most quarterbacks drafted in the top 12 ever. Previously, this record was, there was 6 quarterbacks drafted back in 1983, but that took the entire first round and they were picked, I think the last one was picked in 27th place. So just shows how many holes these teams have, how much they are valuing that position of quarterback, as the most important position in sports, as a lot of people say. And a lot of teams are going to look very, very different next year.
Totally. And I mean, outside of the 6 QVs, there were 7 wide receivers, 9 O-linemen, and 1 tight end. So it just comes to show, I mean, much love to the defense. I think that the NFL is really heading towards, like, we need a franchise quarterback that's going to be here to stay. And how, like, what are my weapons to protect the quarterback? And how can we get the ball down the field? How can we score touchdowns? How can we win games? And it's with your offense. So we definitely saw that this was like a huge takeaway for us and for everybody in the NFL. It was crazy. It was crazy to watch. I'm hoping that for round 2 and kind of moving ahead through all the way through 7, we will start seeing more of those defensive players. But we all know that before the draft and even before free agency, a lot of these teams didn't have their franchise quarterbacks. And now, future is looking bright.
Future is looking bright for those teams. Exactly. Yeah. So just to go down the line, talking about teams who did score a new QB in the draft. Number 1, of course, the belle of the ball, Caleb Williams, looking absolutely stunning last night in his custom suit. When the announcers were talking about him, they're saying he's the closest thing we've seen to Patrick Mahomes, which is perhaps the highest compliment that a young quarterback could get.
Yeah.
He was just walking around. I wrote in my notes, like, this man looks like a whole celebrity. Like, he is so ready for his moment. He brought the energy. He brought the swag. He brought the excitement. He was really feeling himself, and I was so excited for him. He, of course, gets drafted number 1, as everyone expected, to the Chicago Bears. Bears fans are going wild. I was laughing. Like, when he walked on the stage, he let out a huge scream. He was so excited. He was so pumped up. Like, I was getting pumped up for the Bears fans. Like, this is awesome. He's having so much fun. They hand him a jersey when they get on stage. He starts driving the jersey like a car. I'm like, this guy is so good. Like, I was absolutely so excited for him. So excited for Chicago. Yes. This moment was as big as we all thought it was going to be.
Totally. And I think all of us became Chicago Bears fans just for a minute, because we all know how hard it's been to be a Bears fan for quite some time. So I know that a lot of people have been saying that this is the biggest moment in Bears history, even like outside of games, in years. So the comparisons to Mahomes, he has some big shoes to fill there, but also I think it is achievable just looking at who he has in the locker room with him. We're talking, who does he have? DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, who's a tight end. Like, his weapons go on for miles. And then did I say Keenan Allen? I didn't even say
Allen.
And of course, Keenan Allen. I didn't even write that down.
They got Keenan Allen in the offseason. And now, of course, spoiler alert, they drafted wide receiver Rome Odunze at number 9. And the two are already vibing.
Yeah.
Already such good chemistry between the two of them.
That was a really cute video of them when they were like dabbing it up afterwards and like, we're going to kill it today. I think I saw some tweets to them. They were on the same flight to Detroit, and Caleb's like, "Wow, I'm a big fan of Rome. Like, he is on the same flight as me." And he said, "Don't worry, guys, I'm getting Caleb to Detroit safely. I'm the pilot." I thought that was very humorous and very sweet and funny of them. But I can't wait to see what this dynamic duo is going to accomplish in this draft, or I'm sorry, in this season. But I loved that moment. It was great.
Yeah, they already are so excited to be together. I think they're feeling what all the Bears fans are feeling is that no team in this offseason has made moves like the Bears have. They've drafted 2 amazing offensive weapons. They also have been doing a ton trading on the back end just to get, as we mentioned, Keenan Allen and DeAndre Swift. So excited for them. I also want to add that it was a really cute moment when the players, when Caleb was done getting his jersey handed to him, he gets interviewed on the side and the reporter says, you won the Heisman in 22. You are the first overall draft pick. Like, what are your goals? Like, what could you even dream of beyond this? And I'm thinking like, he's going to say he wants to win games and like win a Super Bowl. He goes, learn all my teammates' names and get to know their families. I thought that was so sweet. I'm like, I love Caleb.
Yes. Relationships first with this one. And I think that's the right way to go because he knows that he's going to hold the leadership. He's going to be rallying the team together. So I love that mindset. I also, this is like not related to football at all, but when he was walking out, I thought it was really sweet in talking about relationships. This is why I bring it up. He was like linked arm in arm with his mom on one side, like walking down the red carpet. On the other side, I think was his girlfriend, this beautiful, tall, like Danish. She looked like a supermodel, but I just like love that he was like, it seemed like he was a little uncomfortable because they were kind of walking at different speeds, but he had to walk like
2 women.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
His 2 women. I also was looking out for his nails, and he just went clean manicure,
Shocked
no color.
Me.
Yeah.
If I, all the betting that was being not placed on Caleb Williams because you couldn't really win any money for him, like because it was so obvious he's going to the Bears, I would have placed a bet that he would have had polish on his nails.
Totally.
And he would have been, just custom. I guess it's tough because, if I was him, I'd want to do like a Bears. I think he maybe posted today, like bear down painted on his nails.
Oh,
so maybe he was waiting for that debut. Just once it's official, then I will go get my nails done immediately. First order of business.
That's
and then I think he spelled like BAR, whatever. You know you guys know how to spell bear and down, but that's
bear down.
Exactly. And then he posted with his hands kind of out towards the camera, and I was like, okay, this is what we were waiting for.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I did not see the update from his nails, but
I'm on nail talk for Caleb.
Nail talk. Yes. Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Anything else on Sir Caleb?
No, I think that's it. I'm so excited. I know we're going to be talking about him a lot in the upcoming weeks. And once the season starts, I am feeling as good as anyone can feel, I think, about a team drafting a new quarterback. I'm high on Caleb. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's the NFL's worst kept secret is what they said.
Exactly.
When he got drafted. Awesome. Well, we can go on to pick number 2. Pick number 2 was with the Washington Commanders. And as we know, we talked a little bit about this quarterback on our last episode last week for you guys. But we can finally put the rumors to rest on Topgolf Gate because Jaden Daniels, coming out of LSU, is now the Washington Commanders quarterback. And we're excited for him. I do hope that they have found their franchise QB. I know that similar to the Bears, they have had some struggles with kind of like their front office. I believe that they let go their previous head coach. His name was Dan Snyder, and not a lot of people were very fond of him. So after years of kind of like that bad coaching and bad management, a new head coach has stepped in. His name is Dan Quinn. And we're hoping not only Dan Quinn can turn things around for him, but hopefully Jaden Daniels coming out of LSU with a lot of weapons. He will be surrounded similarly to all the weapons that he had at LSU. We have Terry McLaurin. We have Bahan Dodson, Austin Eckler, also former Chargers, which is really sad, but hopefully, on the Commanders, he'll do a really good job there. So I do think that this is a great placement. I think that with the media, we definitely got thrown around and thought that Topgolfgate was going to be throwing a wrench in his plans on where he would land, but ultimately, Jayden Daniels with the Commanders.
Exactly. And yeah, with these first 2 picks, there's no drama, there's no surprises. I think when I was watching the draft before they actually drafted Jayden and announced it, the people that were talking over the announcers were still trying to drum up the drama of Topgolfgate. And one of the reporters said that, we talked to Jayden Daniels last night, or we talked to him this morning, and he said, I didn't sleep well last night. I don't know where I'm going. And I was like, are they really, is this true, or are they still just trying to get everyone to follow this crazy drama when it panned out exactly like we thought it was going to before Topgolf?
Totally. And I honestly think that they spun up a story because, sure, maybe he wasn't good at golf. And there was some speculation that maybe his agent wanted him to go somewhere else. So that could have been part of the fuel to the fire for this whole rumor for Topgolfgate. But overall, Jayden Daniels going to the Washington Commanders. We're happy to see what he does with the team. I think that this will be good for him. There's a lot of potential there. Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it too. Very nice.
Love.
All right. Should we go to pick 3?
Yeah.
Okay. The New England Patriots are on the clock. It is coming in that they are taking trade calls from the Vikings at number 11 who need a quarterback. They're taking calls from the Giants. And they said, not gonna happen. They said, we are keeping our number 3 pick, and they go with Drake May, quarterback out of UNC. And again, we predicted this.
Yep.
We're so good at this. We're so
we
smart.
did do pretty good with the top 3.
The top 3, and then things start to get crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they picked Drake May. Again, we talked about last episode how he is from a family of athletes. And my big takeaway is when they show him backstage in the Lowe's home experience, of course, that he helped build. He's hugging his brothers and his dad. And I'm looking at it. I was like, why does this imagery and this video look so off to me? And it's because Drake May at 6'6" is shorter than everyone he's hugging, just because it's his family and they're so athletic. They're 6'8", and I was like, this is probably the only time we'll see him looking up to give someone a big hug. I thought that was so cute.
What a dream.
That was so funny. He was wearing gray suit. He had some Nike Dunks on, looking cool. They also kind of panned to his high school that was having a huge watch party for him. So he has a lot of supporters. When he goes on stage and gets interviewed, he says, this pick left him speechless. So okay, I think we all thought this was coming though. And then he said the Patriots can be excited because they get him, they get his whole family, and they are the whole package. So again, he just continues to be this big family man. And I think we will be getting, maybe we get a spinoff or a show like Keeping Up with the Mays.
Maybe.
Could they be the next Kelseys?
Oh, that's saying something.
That is saying quite a lot.
But we do have a lot of storylines from the families because all of them are athletes. And I think he says that one of them is a basketball player like internationally or maybe used to. His dad maybe used to play. So there's just like, there's so much with that. So
exactly.
I agree.
I think it's fun.
I wonder how things are going to go with him at the Patriots. I can't think of any like star players in their receiving room.
No, not really.
So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how they draft for the remaining rounds too. And maybe they'll be getting some really strong rookies to be helping Mr. Drake May out.
I do think that he is going into one of the rougher kind of situations getting drafted.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure he's, of course, so happy to be selected number 3 overall. And I do think he'll be really, really great. I think he'll be a good performer. It's just the question of, does he have the O-line in there supporting him? Does he have people that he can throw to that are going to come through and be playmakers? And, either that does happen or the Patriots will get another top pick next year. Better luck next year, you guys.
Without Bill Belichick.
It's time to hang up that hat and on to the future of the dynasty.
Yeah. But we're excited for Mr. Drake and the Lowe's partner. New Lowe's partner. Awesome. I think we have next our pick 8, which we already talked about, is the Falcons. I don't know if we need to touch on that anymore.
Yeah, but said everything we need to say.
We said everything.
Another team has a quarterback.
Yeah, and I guess like as we're going through this, if you guys didn't get a chance to watch the actual draft, it's really fun because the minute that the draft starts, there is a 10-minute countdown. All of the teams have, when it's their turn and their pick, they have 10 minutes to choose who they're going to select. And then once they're ready, you hear this like ding, 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 ding sound. I'm totally butchered it, but
it's the best sound. I saw it like on Instagram, like a meme that was like, it is time for the sound that is as pure as crack to mankind. And it was just showing it like it's so true.
On NFL memes.
Yeah, that's my favorite Instagram account.
Something. So good.
Loved that. It's just like crack, sure.
But I'm trying to paint the picture of us going to pick 8. Michael Penix Jr. He is going to the Falcons.
It's so fun. And then, during the 10 minutes, it's either teams, they're calling other teams to trade with them and saying, like, they're taking calls if they're on the clock of, hey, what can you give me if you want to come up to this spot right now? And they're maybe hanging up, hearing an offer from someone else. So it's really intense. It's a bunch of guys in one room, just taking a bunch of calls, weighing their options, figuring out what they want to do. Or it's as simple as, no, we're not going to trade. Stop calling me, lose my number immediately. And then once they call the guy that they're going to draft, they kind of hand the phone around the room. You talk to the general manager, the head coach, the owners. And it's so cute, like having all of them just say like, hey, like, you ready to come play for our team? Like, we really believe in you. And that's what I've been watching on social media today, and getting actually emotional of these young guys just getting calls from these big NFL coaches and just being like, we watched the tapes, we're so excited to welcome you on board, and we can't wait for you to join the fam. And like passing it around like, okay, no, I'm gonna pass the phone to my dad. And like, it's so cute.
It is so cute because these players and their families, they know how much sacrifice it takes in order to get to this moment. So I love to see the tears shed. Of course, like happy tears, not because I want to see you cry, but because we are just big fans and stans of them achieving their dreams. So we saw a lot of those moments, and it was great to see. I would definitely not want to be in one of those draft rooms. I could just like, when they had the cameras on the draft rooms, I felt the tension.
Oh my God, before the pick happens. Yeah. I have stuff to say on that later when we get to the Chargers pick.
Oh, okay.
Because that moment is going viral, but I'll wait until that. But yeah, especially like seeing them all waiting. And then it's worse, I think, for the guys that are there in person, because I don't think there was anybody who was stuck backstage that didn't end up getting picked in the first round. But I was starting to get nervous. We're getting to the 20s and they show a couple guys backstage still like
that are
in
waiting.
Full glam.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my heart was racing for them.
Totally. I can't even imagine what that would feel like. And then to have the last pick be, I forget his name, like Ricky Pearsall. He wasn't even there, but a lot of people were like, 49ers.
Yeah.
We don't know why that guy. You could have got him in the second round, but
he
wasn't there. But yeah,
no one expected him to go that high. But I will say I've heard a couple interviews with him, and I really like him. So I think he's going to be good, and I think under 49ers leadership, he's going to be a star.
Very true. And honestly, round oneers doesn't necessarily or guarantee that you're going to be great. You got to.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah. Period.
Gotta go to work, boys. Okay, so that was pick 8 that we didn't talk about again. So skipping up to pick 10, the Vikings traded with the Jets to get from pick 11 to 10 to secure their quarterback. They are going with JJ McCarthy.
Yay.
This was longer than I think people thought JJ McCarthy would be just waiting around.
Totally.
He was one of the ones who was at home with his family. He was sitting next to his fiance. He also had his dog with him. Marley was there, all dressed up, waiting for. Actually, I don't know why I said that. He was dressed up. The dog wasn't dressed, wearing clothes, but
he's wearing his tuxedo.
He's wearing. The dog got a custom suit. So that was really sweet to see him surrounded by his family. And the Vikings haven't actually taken a quarterback in the top 10. The last time was when they took a quarterback at 11, but this was in 1999. And as I mentioned, this was really shocking that JJ was still able to be picked at 10. So I know that they were trying to call up to some of the teams that were picking earlier, like the Chargers. I think they also called the Giants. No one was trading with them. So luckily, finally, the Jets were like, fine, You can have one spot. We're not drafting a quarterback. You guys can get in there. And apparently there was only a 19% chance. I don't know how they determined that JJ was still supposed to be available at this time. But again, we were right. We said we think he's going to go to the Vikings, and they made it happen. I think this is a really great pick for them. I was super excited when I saw it happen. The people that were there in Michigan, Detroit, obviously they're big JJ fans because he took them to get their national title.
Yeah.
The Lions, the Detroit Lions are arch rivals of the Vikings. So they all love JJ. And I don't think a lot of the fans there from Michigan were so stoked about this.
Yeah, they finally had to depart from the standness that is JJ McCarthy if he's going to, a competitor.
Exactly, which is tough. And I'm wearing my University of Michigan hat. Thank you, Noelle, for sponsoring and giving me this hat. It's very sweet, so I can be a big Jim Harbaugh stan.
Yes.
I was also relieved because JJ moving this far down in picks, the very next pick, I believe, after the Vikings would have been number 12 for the Broncos. And as we talked about last episode, we don't want JJ going to the Broncos being in the same division as Jim Harbaugh, coach of the Chargers.
Yeah.
So I was very relieved about this. But I think a lot of people, again, as we spoke about last week, see JJ as a bigger risk. He's always been on really good teams. So if they're going to the Vikings and Vikings are looking a little bit less stacked this year, how is that going to look for their meditation king, JJ McCarthy?
That is interesting that you say that, because I feel like there were some rumors going around that the Vikings were thinking about, or they were calling other teams to trade up for Malik Neighbors.
Interesting.
Yeah. And again, rumors, speculation, could be totally false, but Malik Neighbors was a wide receiver from LSU. He eventually is, now he's on the Giants, but there were some speculations of them getting another wide receiver in the room. But again, that obviously didn't happen. And I think this is going to work out because who knows, if he has Justin Jefferson in the room, that's really all you need on your weapons, because they'll have that JJ connection.
Exactly.
That will be amazing to see. But again, there's also like Justin Jefferson is kind of on the free agent market right now, and he's probably shopping around. So we'll see if he sticks around. But outside of that, he does have a pretty solid core of guys: Aaron Jones, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, Brandon Powell. I know a few of these because they were on my fantasy teams and they did pretty solid.
Okay.
So I think he's walking into a very happy, solid team.
That's good. I only want what's best for him. And this is a side note, and I know these men are like 20 years old, but like, were you ever watching the draft last night and you're like, I kind of like have a crush on that guy?
Yeah, of course. What?
Like, I feel that when I'm watching football, but I didn't know, just considering the age of these men, and a lot of them have baby faces, if I would develop a crush while watching. JJ was one that I felt like I had a little crush on.
Okay. I was thinking him. And to your point, he has a baby face, but I was more so thinking, I wonder how hot he's going to be in a few years.
Exactly. Because he's tall. He seems like he's got some fun hair going on. There are like clips of him where I'm like, he's looking pretty good.
Yeah.
So I need some new crushes in the league. So that was exciting. And then Romo Dunze was my other crush.
Totally, yes.
He just has such a likable face that I was looking at him and he was smiling over being drafted. And then I was smiling right back over him being drafted.
He did an interview with Rich Eisen and that I was watching this morning. And just like the way he talked and everything, I'm like, oh, he is going to kill it out there with the ladies.
My God. Do we know if he's single?
I don't want to look.
I'm going to look. I'm going to find out. Not for myself, but just for the fans.
Just for funsies. Yeah.
Romo Dunze single ? Oh, he's spoken for.
Oh, he is?
I'll give his girlfriend a shout out since we're talking about how hot her man is. Alana Davidson, great job securing this young man.
Oh,
they're really together.
Cute. Yeah. Oh,
I am unfortunately happy for them. They've been dating since 2022.
Yes. Way to lock that in. Very smart.
Fine.
But they look very cute together.
We'll still enjoy watching them, and we'll see her at the game. She can be one of our wifey of the weeks next.
Yes, exactly. Hopefully they are going to lock it in soon.
Yeah. Oh my God. We're going to see some proposals now that the men are in the NFL. They got NFL money.
Well, you said JJ, they're engaged, right?
Yeah.
With
recently
his partner?
engaged. Yeah.
I mean, and he's so young, so
maybe I
never
should
say
shout
never.
her out too, because again, I did say that her fiance was hot. So let me just get her name, so in case she's listening.
Okay.
So again, the dog is named Marley, and her name is Katya Karopas.
Cute.
And she has 132,000 Instagram followers.
Okay, she's
like a mini influencer.
Okay, she's stepping into the right market then.
I love it.
And I love that their dog's name is Marley.
I know, it's like Marley and Me.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of dog too. It's like a little lab.
Not that movie.
No, I can't watch it.
Yeah, I've watched it once and I was like, I can't ever do this again for my mental health.
No, that's worse than watching a movie where people die as the dog dies. Speaking of dogs not dying but living, Millie, shout out, my dog is in the studio with us today.
Yay, she's doing so good right now.
She's
Where
doing
is she?
great. I don't know. Millie? Oh, she's right under my chair.
Oh, good. Oh,
girl.
Good job, Millie.
She's doing great. Millie and Marley.
Yes.
Anyways, not as fun for the audio listeners, but Millie is here.
Yes.
I do think that's what we have on JJ.
Love. And we have one more QB that we wanted to chat about today. This one, we are skipping down to pick number 12. The Denver Broncos decide to select Bo Nix, QB out of Oregon.
Let's go.
We're excited for this one. I believe he was at home for this announcement from what I remember.
Yes.
Is he from Napa Valley or was that somebody else? I didn't write it down, but I remember somebody being from Napa Valley. I could be totally wrong.
I didn't write it down. My first note on him when they showed him as at home was kind of looks like a fuckboy, question mark. I was like, what about this man's face I don't trust?
Yes. He was getting into trouble at Oregon. What a lively school. Go Ducks. Not that I went there, but I do have some friends that went there. Just a little bit of backstory on how the Broncos picked up Bo Nix. The Denver Broncos, they held a private workout for him kind of right after his pro day, which again is a way for him to show off his physicality. Oregon held a pro day. So this is just the day after. And the night before the workout, the Broncos give him some packets just to help him learn some of the schemes and what the offense is going to look like. And the next morning, they tell him that in the classroom that he crushed it. And basically at that moment, they knew that they had their QB right then and there. So, I think that's one of those moments where, you feel something. They were able to see his talent. They were seeing him throw around for a little bit. And they were convinced right after that.
Question on the packet of plays they gave him. Do we think that's standard practice, or was that them saying hey, you're going to be tested on this tomorrow, start studying now and look impressive so we can draft you?
Yeah, I doubt it was the full Denver Broncos playbook. That would be
too
crazy.
Yeah. Here's our plan for next year, bud.
Could be totally wrong, but I'm sure this is hey, some kind of standardized thing like you said. So yeah, that was a little bit of a backstory on how he got to draft day. But something else that I thought was kind of interesting was the current Broncos center. His name is Alex Forsyth. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He used to play with Bo Nix at Oregon before Denver drafted him. So I'm sure that he had a few nice words about Bo Nix. So I'm sure that helped his case a little bit.
I love it. Well, we wish him the best. Also confirming that he was in Alabama. So not necessarily Napa.
Oh, okay. Alabama.
In the U.S.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I might have confused that with somebody else. My bad. I didn't even write it down, and I really felt confident about that.
Maybe someone else was in Napa.
Totally, someone else was definitely in Napa Valley, but wasn't Bo Nix. Anyways, congrats.
Congrats, King. I hope you're not a fuckboy, but if you are, you just got a ton more opportunity to be a fuckboy.
Yeah, kill it. Kill it out there.
Kill it, King. Okay, so that wraps up the 6 quarterbacks that got drafted. Again, a record-breaking number of quarterbacks to go in the first round in general, to go that early. And all 6 of those teams are going to be looking different. Maybe the Falcons aren't looking that different because he's going to be on the bench for 5 years, but we're definitely going to be watching that situation closely in Atlanta. The next thing we want to talk about is, speaking of how many offensive members were selected this early in the draft, it was also a big year for O-linemen, the offensive tackles to get drafted. Getting these big guys on the team are absolutely crucial for protecting your talented quarterback. So for the teams that already had a quarterback they felt good about, let's draft some men that will prevent these guys from getting injured. So I know both of our teams drafted O-linemen, so we'll just maybe talk about them.
You sure?
Then shout out to the other guys that we're not going to talk about, but we're thinking about you.
Yeah.
And these are like the biggest daddies of the draft.
They are. I mean, 300 plus pounds, I'm sure. Super
like
tall.
340, your guy at the Bengals.
Yes, 340, 6'7".
I'm sorry. Hello? How do they make humans like that? And like, again, like the Chargers posted like a picture of the guy that they drafted and just put like, this guy's an absolute unit, and then captioned it like big boy. And I was like, did they have to clear it with him? But then I remembered that O-lineman, like it's a compliment to be like that big.
Yeah, of course.
It goes back to all the way episode number 0, where it's just men and women celebrated at 6'7" and 340 pounds.
Literally, as they're announcing all of the picks, they have the stats, how tall they were, the weight. I'm like, can you imagine if this was for women? We would be, I mean, I wouldn't be a fan of that. I'm actually 10 pounds.
Yeah, I'm like 5'6", 110. Like, I'm just a little stick. Did they do that for the WNBA draft? Did they give us the height and weight of the women?
It's so funny that you asked that, because I was thinking the same thing when I was watching the draft, and then I had that thought and I didn't actually look it up. But
I hope not.
That would be, I have a feeling that they don't. But it sounds like you're finding that out.
I need to know.
She's got to know. But what a big year for O-linemen. I know that you touched on this already, but they are a crucial piece. You can't find anything.
No. Okay. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't know if you were filling space while I looked it up.
No. I was, and then I thought you found something, so I didn't want to continue.
I didn't find if they post their weights, but what I did see, speaking of the WNBA draft, how Caitlin Clark broke records for the most jerseys sold the night that she got drafted. Caleb Williams broke that record last night.
That's so crazy. I think that this is the year of like the sports girlies. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a sports era. Yeah, for everybody. I think everybody just wants experience and entertainment, and I think more people are just hopping on the bandwagon.
They're getting merch. They're getting excited. And I feel like Chicago fans, they've been bad for so long. They're feeling like, could it be our year? Could it happen? And I hope it does, but not at the cost of our teams, of course.
100%.
Anywho, going back to our big ol' O-lineman, the Chargers had the 5th overall pick in the draft. There was a lot of conversation about, will they be getting an offensive tackle? Because that is what Jim Harbaugh, head coach, has been preaching, that this is important because every other position on the field depends on the O-lineman to be good. And I agree with that. I think that actually makes a lot of sense. You know, obviously the quarterback is impacted by that. Your run game is impacted. The wide receiver is having more time to get open. It really does impact everything on your offense. And then of course that impacts defense as well. So they move forward with drafting Joe Alt. Oh, did I finish my sentence? That they were either going to go with O-lineman or wide receiver, because they don't have any wide receivers, and Justin Herbert is throwing to CVS employees currently. Hopefully they change that in draft day 2 today.
Yeah, I saw real estate agents. He's throwing to real estate agents.
Yeah, it just keeps changing every time that we don't get a wide receiver. It like gets worse. He's throwing to himself. I saw a funny video where it's like, this will be Justin Herbert throwing to Joe Alt next year, and it's just like this big boy kind of running down the field and like barely catching a ball. Like, oh my god, it's a mess out there. I feel like the Chargers and the Bills right now are kind of the punchlines of a lot of throwing to Wendy's employees jokes happening out there. But not to take this moment away from Joe Alt, who is the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, 6'7", 322 pounds. Oof. And when they cut to him, this is what I was alluding to earlier. He's not at the draft. He's in a cabin somewhere. I don't even know how he had service up there, but he's with his family. They show 3 little chairs the smallest chairs I've ever seen in my life, lined up, him in the middle, and then his girlfriend and his mom on either side of him. And I don't know if there was just some sort of miscommunication with what clips to show or a delay and like, this is when you can act excited.
Yeah.
But after the Chargers announced it, it cut to about a 30-second clip of him looking absolutely devastated as if a family member had passed. And now what's going viral on the internet is how his girlfriend looks like she's in a hostage situation. And people are like, do we need to check on her? Wellness check on Joe Alt's girlfriend, because she's making like eyes at the camera, like wide eyes, as if she's like, get me out of here. I'm so afraid. And just for the first 4 pick and then every other pick after that to be excitement, tears, hugging, celebrating. And then they just show a hostage situation when Joe Alt gets drafted.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I feel like that was the first time of the night that there was just like a really strange aura in the room when it like cut to family and the player that was surrounded by family. I do think that possibly, and I could be wrong, but I do think that maybe whenever they were like showing those clips, they were doing it. They did it a few times where maybe they just didn't like time it appropriately. And it was like right before the announcement. And then sometimes they didn't even show the excited part. And I think Joe Alt was one of them. There was a few other times where it was kind of, people were silent and just staring at the screen and nothing was happening. It's like, are they excited? But then eventually it like cut to something else, then it came back and then they were excited. But I do think that they need to get a little better with those clips, because that's what we all want to see, is the reaction from the families. And that's why they're there with their families, and they choose to be, because they want the whole family and not just like a few.
Yeah, they want everyone who helped get them to that point. And then us as viewers want to be able to enjoy that moment with them, like the moment that they find out and they can celebrate and they're emotional and their dreams are coming true and getting selected 5th overall. That should be such an overwhelming feeling of joy and celebration for everyone in that room. And I'm not wishing that someone gets fired, but I'm wishing that someone gets maybe put on a PIP I would like a performance plan for whoever is in charge of cutting to these families, because I think they took away that moment. And especially like we talked about, the draft is a time where teams have all the powers and the players just have to go wherever they're drafted. But there are instances where players are very vocal about not wanting to go where they're drafted, and they're just big brats about it. So that's always kind of in the back of everyone's minds, especially when the best players are getting drafted first and they're getting drafted to the worst teams who get to draft first. There's probably a little bit of disappointment, if we're just being honest with ourselves. And so when we see that disappointment, as a fan who I'm like on the edge of my seat, so excited for this draft, I was pissed. But I think he is excited. They've posted clips since of him getting the phone call, and I am really, really excited for him. I was initially disappointed because I just wanted kind of the flashier. I wanted Malik Neighbors, or I wanted Rome Odunze, who I mentioned, of course, that I'm interested in. I'm just kidding. But interested in for the Chargers. But I think he's going to be, again, an absolute unit out there. He does have ties to the NFL. His dad was an offensive tackle for the Chiefs.
Oh,
little bit of a rivalry there. He played for the Chiefs his whole career for 12 years. So that is pretty funny that his son will now be going to an AFC West rival team.
We can't wait to see that. That's great.
Yeah, that's all I'll say about Joe Alt. Last thing I'll say just about the Chargers and their draft pick. There's been a lot of idiotic rumors going around this week about the Chargers potentially trading Justin Herbert.
Oh my gosh.
And I think people just like to stir up drama. If the Chargers traded Justin Herbert, which they wouldn't because they love him and he's their franchise QB, and they just last year signed him to like a $260 million contract, they would still have to pay him like $60 million this year. And they currently only have, I think, like $30 million available in cap space. So if they trade Justin Herbert and then have to get rid of somebody else, it made such little sense. But I think people liked running with the fact that Jim Harbaugh loved JJ McCarthy so much, and he'd have a chance to draft him at number 5, which they could have gotten him. But that is just...
That's like a story. That's a story that people are trying to play out in their head.
Yeah. Well, it impacted the odds of them drafting JJ McCarthy and Justin Herbert getting drafted. Like the betting odds were getting updated to show that this was actually likely to happen. Idiotic. But apparently the Vikings and the Patriots confirmed did call to ask if the Chargers would trade Justin Herbert, and it was just flat.
Nah.
No.
Yeah, no. They found their guy.
Yeah. I would not be well today if that did happen.
We would have to reschedule this podcast.
Yeah, and you would never hear from me again. I would rip off this Charger shirt I'm wearing.
Do you have the charger?
I sure do.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. Okay, cool. Oh no. Sorry, is that annoying?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, cool.
Technical
difficulties.
It's just hard when like we're the talent and we're the tech. We're the IT department as well of Girls Don't Fumble.
We're
LLC.
just everything.
I'm sorry that we're multi-talented.
We're so good at everything. And then Pete does the audio.
Yeah.
And jumps in here and there, but he ditched us today.
Yeah, he said, you can figure it out without me, which we're like, but Pete, you were such a star last week. Sound off in the comments if you guys miss producer Pete this week and if you enjoyed his commentary last week.
Yeah, I think he secretly loves to do it, but he was feeling not with it today.
And that's okay.
That's okay. Self-care first.
Self-care first. And again, that's why, we're just the talent.
We're the everything.
IT. We set up our own cameras and our own lighting. Okay, I'm done. Let's go to the next player.
Yes. And for our other offensive tackle, we are here at pick number 18. The Bengals decide to select Amarius Mims. And we're excited for this because as a Bengals franchise, they have been trying to protect Joey B for years, and he's gone through so many injuries. And the O-line is something that they just never prioritized, not in the draft. They've picked up some people in the free agency here and there. We did get one last year, Orlando Brown, coming from the Chiefs. So right now, if we're looking at the complete O-line for Joey B, we're looking at 340, Amarius Mims, Orlando Brown, who's probably just as tall as him. I don't have the stats for him, but he's also probably at least 6'5", and Trent Brown, who came from the 49ers, all protecting Joey B. Now, it does seem like the Bengals do have a strategy when it comes to their O-line. They just want the biggest guys ever. They want the biggest.
Sense.
And sometimes I feel like there's some O-lines where they want someone who's a little bit more agile, like Chris Jones on the Chiefs. I feel like he is a big guy, but he's also just like really fast. If you see the tape from people like Orlando Brown or Amarius Mims, he's literally, they don't even need to like use any of their weight. They're literally just doing this.
They're just a wall.
Tapping and pushing. They're just a
put
wall.
their arms out, and that's all they have to do.
Build that wall for Joey B.
And they need to. Has he got injured last year? Did he get injured the year before too?
It was in 2020, I believe. So he had to sit out. So yeah, he's gone through a lot. He had a ligament, I believe. I think a ligament injury, and he had surgery on his throwing arm.
Oh man.
There are some videos of him now that he's like throwing, and he's out at training camp. So I think they're prepping him for training camp. So we, as the franchise, as the Bengals fandom, we do hope that he's going to be on that field come day one. But not only that, we hope that he's going to be practicing, because he did come out at the beginning of the season last year, but like he was unwell. He was already injured at that point. So he was coming off of some injuries. And I think as a football player, you're trying to work through them, but he wanted to stay strong. And he got through it, but then it led to him getting not benched, but like having to sit out. And it was a tough year, but we're feeling strong about Amarius Mims, and we're excited to see what he does with the wall.
Yeah, build the wall. Build the wall for Joey B.
And the thing is, with this player, the last thing I'll say about him is, as confident as I am in him, he also has suffered some injuries. So we have to look out for that, hoping he can stay healthy throughout this season. Same thing with Joey Burrow. But looking forward to this pick. I think a lot of people were expecting an O-lineman, and that's exactly what we got. So excited to see what, round 2 through 7 is going to look like. I know that T. Higgins, there might be some speculation that he wants to leave. And so I wonder if they're going to pick up a wide receiver. I don't know. But Anyways, I feel like I was going on a tangent, but shout out to Amarius Mims.
Shout out. Do you think that the Bengals are picking an O-lineman thinking that, they have Jamar Chase, they have T. Higgins for now. Now they're getting Joe Burrow some more protection and some more time in the pocket. Do you think that they're of the mindset of we could win the Super Bowl this year?
They better be.
Just making sure.
Yeah, of
Not all
course.
teams are.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think when you have Joe Burrow in the room, everybody is so confident in him that there's like no question. But the main thing that was holding us back was the O-line. I do think if we were to lose T. Higgins, there could be some questions. I maybe wouldn't feel as confident, but he had a trio. He had Tyler Boyd, he had Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins. He had multiple options when it came to throwing down the field, and they were really great. They also picked up some tight end. I think his name is Mike Gazinski from the Patriots. Like, they have been picking up pieces here and there. So I do think it's looking strong for us. But then again, there's so many good teams now. I'm like, wow, when did it look like this?
I know. It's crazy. Last year it was nuts. So many unexpected things happen. But yeah. I don't think that every team is thinking we could win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're like the general Bengals, I don't know what the fans are saying, but
I think they have the talent.
I think that they're feeling hopeful for sure.
Let's go. Awesome. Okay, well, we talked a lot about the offensive players, and now it's time to get into some defensive player highlights. We picked just a couple for you guys. As we mentioned, the first round of the draft was very, very heavy offense, but we couldn't forget two of these guys. Just some highlights before we get into our final segment. So the first defensive player that we want to highlight is... what is this man? How do I pronounce this? Latu?
Yeah.
Latu. That's a fun name.
It is.
I love that. So he is an edge who is coming out of UCLA, and he was drafted to the Colts at number 15. The very first defensive player to get drafted of the night. And
Exciting.
Very exciting. He was a Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Year last year, and he was showing up. He was at the draft in person. He had a rhinestone suit. He was very excited to get drafted. He was crying when he got the call, which I thought was so cute. These are the moments that I live for. I want to see them crying and so excited. One thing that's interesting about him is that he came from UCLA, but he started at Washington, in which case he missed 2 seasons after injuring his neck and being told, you got to retire. Like, this neck injury is so serious. Ugh. We don't want to play you anymore. And I think they were just doing that, of course, to not have him be paralyzed.
Oh my gosh. Dead. Can you imagine?
It's just not worth it. So Washington's like, we don't need this on our conscience. We don't think this is what's best for you. And then he said, too bad, I'm going to a different school and I'm going to play. So now he's back, and now he's in the NFL with bigger, scarier guys. I have to admit, I'm a little nervous for him because neck injuries are just not something to be messed with.
Yeah.
But apparently going first in the draft, he had 23.5 sacks in the last 2 seasons at UCLA. So he's a massive playmaker. I just want him to be out there in a neck brace if possible.
Please be careful. No, I feel like neck injuries are just something that you never want to mess with. So to hear that medically you should retire because of your neck, like, I'm going to listen to people, but like, I'm happy that he decided to stick with his guns and just be like, I'm going to push through this. I'm going to persevere. I'm going to work hard and make myself stronger every single day in order to accomplish what my dreams are. And he did that. So major props.
Major props to him. I'll also say he was cracking me up when he was on stage for his interview. He was like, my knees are shaking. I feel weak. And I'm like, your neck is probably weak. And then he just really was talking about his versatility. He said, I'm available. I'm durable.
Yeah. Put me in, coach.
Put me in. He's ready to go. I think he was one of the ones who probably was expected to go a little bit earlier in the draft and was getting antsy backstage. So he was like, oh my God, it's happening. I'm going to the Colts. Here we go.
That was such a good moment.
So we wish him the best.
Yeah. And then the last player that we want to highlight on the defensive side, and again, there are so many talented defensive players. I'm sure we'll see a lot more in the remaining rounds. The Lions traded up to draft Terrion Arnold coming out of Alabama. He is a cornerback, again, defensive side of the ball, which means that he is going to be trying to prevent touchdowns from happening.
Yes.
For lack of better words, but they are super crucial to the game. I think we see that the Lions, they've already been building such an amazing team over the past few years. So adding this cornerback piece to their current already really strong mix of players is going to be really great for them. While we were watching the draft, I just have to highlight his pink suit was so awesome. Like he was such a vibe, super enthusiastic, and obviously the draft was in Detroit. So
let's maybe give it a second. So Millie wanted to weigh in. Hold on,
Millie, what's wrong?
So if you didn't hear Millie before, you've heard her now. She is making her voice known. This is her Girls Don't Fumble debut.
Hello. She just really was excited about
she exclusively wears pink. Like she's got a pink harness, pink leash. So I think she heard pink suit. Oh. So we were talking about Terrion Arnold in his pink suit.
The crowd goes wild.
Well, the crowd went wild because, again, we're in Detroit, Michigan, and the Lions trade up to draft Terrion Arnold. And it was probably the loudest cheers we've heard of the night. It was the Lions, only draft pick of the first round. So they're super excited. And they had cut to Terrion Arnold just in the coverage before he got drafted. And he was one of the ones that I was like, oh my God, that guy looks like a celebrity. He looks so good. He was in pink suit with like kind of like silver floral like inlay. So it was like really shiny and nice.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he looked like $1 million.
It was very flamboyant, but like in the best way. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But we love to see it coming straight out of Roll Tide County.
Yeah, he has such good energy, and once he made it onto the stage, they were interviewing him. Of course, they had to ask about what he's wearing, and we saw what was on the outside of the jacket. What we didn't see was, bam, he opens it up. He's got stuff on the inside. He has pictures. I think a couple of the guys did that, where they had the custom suits where they had pictures of everyone who either got them to the place that they were, and he had pictures like of him like in his journey and as a kid. And I just love that. Normalize putting baby photos of yourself inside your clothing during big moments of your life.
I want to see this trend more.
It's very cute. So super excited to watch him and really excited for all the Lions fans that they were pumped about this pick.
Totally. Awesome. Should we get into the final?
Yes, the final round. So, of course, we went through the highlights offensively, defensively, quarterback-wise, the drama. We just have a couple more people that we want to highlight kind of as the low-key pick of the draft and fumble of the draft.
Yep.
So let's get into it.
We've discussed a lot. Mm-hmm. And I will say this pick was a little bit towards the end of round one. And this is something that I just wish didn't happen because it's with a team that the Bengals are currently in the same division with. The Chiefs, they decide to trade up. Mm-hmm. They trade up a few spots. They were at pick 32, which is last. They trade up to 28th with the Bills. And who do they pick up? Well, there's a few wide receivers left. There's a few that are really fast. Mm-hmm. His name, Xavier Worthy.
And is he fast?
He is fast. And the reason why he's fast is because he performed at the NFL Combine this year and he broke records for the 40-yard dash.
Okay.
4.21 seconds for the 40-yard dash. The fastest to date at the Combine. So it does seem like the Chiefs are trying to find their new cheetah, aka Tyreek Hill. This might be their guy.
This is really scary for all other NFL teams. As much as we're in the AFC together. They're in our division, AFC West with the Chargers. When I was watching the draft and it's like, okay, Bills are on the clock, and all of a sudden you see it shift to now the Chiefs are on the clock. I think every fan, unless you're a Chiefs fan, was yelling at the TV of, why would the Bills let them do this? They trade up to be able to get not just a wide receiver, but the fastest wide receiver that we have ever seen in a draft, period,
Yes.
now is on the Kansas City Chiefs. And it just doesn't make any sense why the Bills would let one of their rivals do this.
Yeah.
Bills, going back a few years, were also the ones who allowed the Chiefs to trade up with them to get Patrick Mahomes in the first place.
Exactly.
What is happening? What are the Bills doing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good look for them. And obviously, they have that history there where they are not choosing appropriately if you're on the Bills. Bills Mafia, I'm a little scared for you. I really hope you show up and show out today in this next round. But obviously, there is... I was really upset about this one because I did watch a little bit of the draft. Xavier Worthy was fast. If you see clips of him, when he's done with the 40-yard dash, he just keeps running. And then he sees his name. He sees that he breaks records and he's running around the field. Super stoked, super hyped. So I was watching out for his name all day yesterday. And the fact that it came up not only for the Chiefs, but... I'm happy that it obviously happened in the first round. I thought it would be earlier, but to see Xavier Worthy with the Chiefs was not on my bingo card, and I was not super thrilled about that. But again, this is a very, very smart move for the Chiefs, especially knowing that the Chiefs had the most drops in the NFL last year. They needed to really pick up the pace with their wide receivers. They also just traded or picked up Marquise Brown in free agency. He goes by Hollywood, I believe. So Andy Reid, they were exchanging some text back and forth. So they're getting pretty solid. And we know that even with all those drops last year, they were still able to win a Super Bowl. They have 3. All of the people that the Bills traded with in order to get Patrick Mahomes, they don't even exist on that team anymore.
The team that's won the Super Bowl the last 2 years in a row and has started the Chiefs dynasty should not be allowed to pick the fastest wide receiver in the draft.
Why did anybody let this happen?
Why did the Bills let this happen? It's their fault.
No,
I feel like all of the teams should have gotten in a group chat without the Chiefs and said, listen, they have pick number 32 as the Super Bowl winners. Let's keep them there.
Exactly.
No one take their calls. I don't know. What I will say is funny though about like talking about his combine run where he was super fast. They like to put other players overlaid in videos as a comparison. And of course, Patrick Mahomes didn't do that well in terms of his 40-yard dash. And I think he had even tweeted like, now that it's combine season, please stop using my video as an example. And what gets posted last night, Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worthy's 40-yard dash overlaid with each other.
Oh my gosh.
Patrick Mahomes isn't even in the frame anymore by the time that Xavier Worthy has finished running. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine Patrick's upset about that going viral for that reason. Now that he has a really, really fast man to throw to.
I'm scared, but you know, you got to have hope. We got to be optimistic about our teams. But honestly, great job to the Chiefs. That was the pick of the night for me.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of winners in this draft, and this one was perhaps the most unexpected that the Chiefs were able to, I don't know what they offered the Bills, make that happen for them. So yeah, they were our pick of the week, a pick of the draft with Xavier Worthy at 28. He's going to be amazing. And if he's that good of a player now, imagine what he's going to do under the guidance of Andy Reid and surrounded by such greatness and working with Patrick Mahomes. If they win a Super Bowl 3 years in a row, like I'm going to quit the podcast.
We're canceling the podcast. We just can't handle it.
Can't handle it.
Our hearts and souls are too much in it.
We are mad. So anything else on the Chiefs?
That's it.
Okay. So that of course, leads us naturally into who's our fumbler of the week. It's the Bills for not only being the one NFL team to let the Chiefs get stronger when they should have just let them go back or keep their 32 draft pick spot. You know who else needed a wide receiver? The Bills.
Oh, yeah.
Who just got rid of Stephon Diggs and still has to pay most of his salary.
The Bills.
And, of course, people are clowning them because, as I mentioned, they let this happen before with Patrick Mahomes. It's their arch rival. And it was just, not only did they switch, and so it was then the Bills were going to get the last first round draft pick. They decide, no, we're good. We don't need that. We're going to give it to the Panthers instead. So the Bills are the biggest fumbler of the night because they didn't get a single player in the first round.
No, they didn't.
And they needed one.
They did.
What are you doing?
And now they have the 33rd pick, right? Like for this round.
I think so. So it's like, sure, it's right after the third, or is it 33rd pick in the second round or right after?
I think technically they keep counting. So it's like round 2, but it's the 33rd or whatever.
Yeah. So they'll be the first pick of round 2.
Yeah.
Which fine. I don't know what the Panthers, we should probably look into what these deals are, but the Panthers were able to select wide receiver Xavier Legit from South Carolina. So the last
could have been the Bills.
Yeah. And then just taking a look, Ricky Pearsall was picked right before that, another wide receiver. So there are a lot of wide receivers in this draft class.
Yeah.
You want to just pick as early as possible if you are in need of one.
They must,
Bills and Chargers.
Yeah, they must really have someone in mind that they feel really confident in that wasn't selected in the first round. And they said, we're going to go all in on this guy. So I really am curious. I'm at the edge of my seat. Actually, the draft probably started already, didn't it?
I just Googled because I was like, we're on the edge of our seat, but we have answers because it's now about 6:00 on Friday. And the Bills with their 33rd pick did pick wide receiver Keon Coleman.
Okay.
So they do have him in their roster now.
Live
updates, you guys. He is coming out of Florida State. They're saying, they really like him as a team leader.
Okay.
He apparently used to play basketball.
That's interesting. You know what else? I did some research, and I guess the rookie contracts, if you're round 1 versus round 2 through 7, is different. So maybe it's like, okay, if we're last at 32, maybe we just push it one more to 1 so we don't need to pay him as much.
I mean, that's
the
fair.
Second round.
Yeah.
Because essentially for round 1ers, it's guaranteed 4 years and then like the opportunity to extend a 5th year. And then for the 2nd through 7th round, I believe it's 4 without the option. And I think undrafted, it's like 3 years, something like that, guaranteed.
Okay. So that makes sense. They
get paid more in round 1, and which means for the team, they get to pay him less for round 2.
Well, we will see what the Bills end up doing. I'm keeping them as my loser just because they made the Chiefs stronger, and that should be everyone's collective goal to not let that happen.
100%.
You really never know. Just because someone gets drafted in the first round does not mean they're going to be stronger than someone drafted in round 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Obviously, college is such a different ball game than the NFL. You're going up against so much of a different opponent. People are so much more talented. Rules are different. So there's really no way of knowing until we get these guys out on the field. But we'll see what comes out of day 2, which is already underway.
Yes. I think we got to wrap it up because it's time for us to go watch it.
It is time for us to go watch it. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys for coming along with us on our draft recap. We had so much fun watching it, so much fun recapping it, and hope you guys did too.
Awesome. Hope you learned a thing or two, and we'll see you next time.
Bye guys. Love you.